She was just here for the photo op, the battalion commander muttered when Staff Sergeant Astrid Kovac arrived at Combat Outpost Falcon. A public affairs specialist, not a rifleman. 4 hours later, that same commander was staring through his spotting scope in disbelief. Kovac had just put 4 rounds through a dinner plate at 800 meters. The Taliban machine gunner targeting a pinned Marine team never heard the shot that killed him. Neither did the 3 who tried to replace him. The Wyoming ranch girl who grew up hitting coyotes at 900 yards had just saved 12 Marines, with a rifle she wasn't even supposed to touch. Astrid Kovac didn't plan on Afghanistan. She joined the Army at 18 for college money, picking public affairs because it sounded safe. What the recruiter never mentioned was combat documentation, following infantry units into hostile territory with a camera instead of a rifle. Now at 31, with 13 years of service, she stood on a landing zone in Kuna Province, cameras on her back, and mislabeled rifle case at her feet. The Marines hardly noticed her. Another POG, not a grunt. They didn't know she grew up on a 20,000-acre ranch outside Cody, Wyoming, where missing a shot meant losing cattle to wolves. They didn't know her grandfather, a Marine sniper in Korea, had taught her wind calls and bullet drop before she learned algebra. At 16, she could hit a playing card at 600 meters with his Winchester. But she had chosen cameras, not rifles. The rifle case, an M24 sniper system, was a supply mix-up. Captain Marcus Webb asked if it was hers. No, sir. I'll just keep it secured. She didn't tell him how natural the weapon felt in her hands when she checked it that night, working the bolt by instinct. The mission seemed routine. Document a Marine reconnaissance patrol establishing an observation post on a ridge. Kovac was told to stay with a command element. Passenger, not crew. The Marines exchanged looks. Babysitting a photographer could get people killed. She bit her tongue. She'd been in more firefights than half of them, but none of that mattered. To them, she was just along for the ride. 6 hours later, the situation collapsed. A separate Marine patrol, call sign Hammer 2, had been ambushed in a wadi 5 kilometers south. 3 Taliban machine gun teams had them pinned. Mortars couldn't reach, air support was 20 minutes away, and weather was closing in. Through her camera lens, Kovac watched the Marines trapped, a corpsman crawling for a wounded man and driven back by gunfire. Captain Webb cursed over the radio. Negative fire support. Terrain masking. Cobras delayed. First Sergeant Danvers shook his head. We can't get an angle. Kovac lowered her camera. The targets were 700 to 900 meters out. Long shots, but manageable. She looked at the unopened M24 case. Captain, she said quietly, I can make those shots. Webb blinked. You're a photographer. I'm also a distinguished rifleman. 4-time Wyoming state long-range champion. My grandfather was a Marine sniper. I've been shooting since I was 8. Another radio call crackled in. Hammer 2 had a Marine bleeding out. 3 minutes left, maybe less. Webb made a call he'd remember for the rest of his life. He handed her the rifle. The M24 was zeroed for someone else, but there was no time. Danvers dropped beside her as spotter. The rounds were match-grade M118LR. At least the ammo was good. Kovac laid prone, pack under the rifle. Her breathing slowed, muscle memory older than her uniform. First target, Northwest Ridge, 760 meters. 2-man milligram team. Wind left to right, 5. Kovac found them in her scope. Mirage shimmer distorted the image, but she remembered her grandfather's lesson. Aim where they'll be, not where the heat makes them look. Send it. The rifle cracked. The gunner collapsed. His assistant scrambled for the weapon. Her second shot dropped in mid-stride. Second position, 820. Hold one up, half left. She waited for a shoulder to shift. One squeeze. Center mass. He disappeared behind rocks and didn't move again. Last one, 890. His smart only shows when firing. Hold 1-5 up. She timed the shot between bursts. The round caught him as he rose to reload. Silence followed. 4 shots. 4 hits. Hammer 2 was already moving, dragging casualties out. On the radio, a voice asked, "Who the hell is your sniper?" Webb looked at Kovac, still behind the rifle. "She's not. She's our photographer." 2 weeks later at Bagram, Colonel Mitchell stared at her evaluation report. You put me in an impossible position, Sergeant. A public affairs specialist engaging targets. The lawyers are losing their minds. Kovac held his silence. But, Mitchell said softly, Lance Corporal Torres is alive because of you. All 12 Marines from Hammer 2 came home. I'm recommending you for the Bronze Star with Vela, and for sniper school at Fort Benning. She blinked. Sir, I'm not infantry. No, but you're a shooter, and Special Forces wants you. Someone who can document and, when needed, provide overwatch. He slid her new orders across the desk. A month later, she called her grandfather from Fort Benning. She had just completed the stalking phase of sniper school with a perfect score. His voice cracked with pride. Your grandmother would have said you were always meant for this. You just took the long way around. Asta thought about that valley in Cuna, about Marines alive because she happened to be in the wrong place with the right rifle. Sometimes a long way is the only way.